Our kith and kin in the occupied Syrian Golan renew their solidarity with their homeland and support for the Syrian Arab army against the terrorist gangs. A unit of the Syrian Arab army continues to uproot terrorism and to repulse the terrorists in Deir ez-Zor. Women and children tell the story of the savage terrorists who attacked them in their homes in the Latakia countryside. Good afternoon, welcome to our news bulletin. I'm Dania Nizam. Our kith and kin in the occupied Syrian Golan renewed their solidarity with their mother homeland Syria against the plots which targeted. They asserted their stand by their Syrian Arab army in its confrontation of the armed gangs of terrorism. They made their stand in the square of Sultan Pasha al-Atrash in the village of Majd al-Shams. They observed a silence of 1 minute in commemoration of Syria's late martyrs. They also sang the Syrian national anthem. Their stand followed the terrorist crimes, the last of which was the explosion in Jaramana, which left dozens of innocent civilians dead or wounded. They asserted their support for the Syrian Arab army and leadership against all plots. They also condemned the massacres committed by the terrorist gangs. A unit of the Syrian Arab army restored security and stability to the village of Khirbat al-Baz in the northern countryside of Latakia after defeating the terrorist gangs which committed crimes of murder and terrorized the people. A unit of the Syrian Arab army also inflicted heavy casualties on the terrorists who infiltrated several other villages. The dead terrorists included the Libyans Abu Abd al-Rahman, Abu Rahmi and Abu al-Mughira. The army destroyed heavy machine guns and anti-aircraft guns and rocket launchers that the terrorists used in their crimes.
As usual, the Syrian Arab army responded to the calls of the victims of terrorism in the Latakia countryside and saved whole families from the terrorists. The victims told the stories of the siege and the heroic acts of the Syrian Arab army.
We are from the village of Baroude to the north of Latakia. We woke up in the early morning with the sound of the bullets of al-Nusra front targeting our house. We escaped quickly in my brother's car to a nearby village. The car was hit. While I tried to save my kids, I was hit with a bullet. The terrorists of al-Nusra front besieged us until we escaped through an olive orchard. We stayed for 6 days in the open until units of the Syrian Arab army came and saved us.
We descended through the valley to escape from the terrorists. We stayed for 6 days with neither food nor drinking water. The Syrian army saved us after we spent 6 days in the open, as armed terrorists of al-Nusra front attacked our village.
The children lost the stories of beautiful times and woke up from their innocent childhood on the sound of bullets that surprised them with their families in the villages of Latakia. The criminal terrorists killed innocent women and unarmed children suddenly. However, the wakeful eyes of the Syrian Arab army rushed to save the besieged families from the terrorists.
In Daraa, a unit of the Syrian Arab army chased a terrorist group that escaped from the town of Al-Hara, which was saved from terrorism. The dead terrorists included Muhammad Adnan al-Qawarit. The security forces also targeted the terrorist groups and their hideouts in several villages, killing many of them, including non-Syrians such as the Libyan Mushid Talat al-Drubi and the Jordanian Muhammad Abd al-Rahman al-Douri. Units of the Syrian Arab army destroyed terrorist hideouts and groups in Homs and its countryside, inflicting heavy casualties among them during a series of operations last night. The army killed and wounded many terrorists to the north of the village of Hosh al-Zawahra in the Homs countryside and destroyed their weapons and ammunition. Another unit of our valiant army destroyed several terrorist hideouts, killing and wounding many of them in the area of Al-Hula and Al-Husn in the Tel Kalakh countryside. The dead terrorists included Ala Ghazi Isa and Sahoud. A unit of the Syrian Arab army inflicted direct hits among the terrorists and their hideouts near the mosque in the quarter of Bab Houd and and in Jurat al-Shia. In Deir ez-Zor, a unit of the Syrian Arab Army defeated a terrorist gang, killing most of its members, including the Saudi terrorist Ibrahim Hassan al-Radadi. In the village of al-Shmaytia, in the countryside, the people confronted terrorists from the so-called Jabhat al-Nusra and inflicted heavy casualties among them. A booby-trapped car exploded, killing all the terrorists who used it, including the leader of the so-called Victory Front, Abu Dujana from the United Arab Emirates. A unit of the Syrian army also defeated a group of terrorists, including another leader of the Jabhat al-Nusra, named Munir Ilyas al-Hajjar. Another group of al-Qaeda terrorist organization tried to attack a military position of the Syrian army. It was repulsed with heavy losses. In Iraq, the number of the terrorist explosions which targeted several areas reached 69, killed citizens and 200 injured. A security source said that the terrorist explosions carried out using several parked booby-trapped cars in several areas and crowded streets in Al-Khazimiyya, Hayy al-Amal, Al-Dura, xist, Diyara, New Baghdad and Al-Nahrawan, targeting the citizens who were celebrating Eid al-Fitr. The source added that the explosions carry the fingerprints of the al-Qaeda terrorist organization, whom they promised the Iraqi citizens with bloody attacks during Eid al-Fitr days. The Austrian newspaper Die Presse has revealed that fierce fighting broke out among thousands of armed terrorists along the Syrian-Turkish border over the loots, which proves the lies and false motives raised by these groups. The newspaper quoted a well-informed source saying that these groups sell the loots in the Turkish markets in return for money. The newspaper added that about 3,000 armed men along the Syrian-Turkish border linked with various armed groups and factions are fighting each other over the loots and to secure safe routes to smuggle Syria's crude oil to Turkey. The newspaper further quoted military sources in Istanbul as saying that the Turkish border guards have confiscated more than 400,000 litres of oil derivatives while smuggling them out of Syria by the armed groups to be sold in Turkey. Dar al-Fi celebrated Eid al-Fitr under the auspices of the Ministry of Culture in the Jahez Gardens in Damascus, imitating the Eid atmosphere of Damascus. The celebration included storytelling and religious dances in addition to an exhibition of horses. The visitors asserted that the Syrians could not miss this opportunity to celebrate Eid in an atmosphere of safety and security. Renowned Syrian poet Sulaiman Laysa, one of the most prominent Arab contemporary poets who has dedicated much of his poetry to national and pan-Arab issues, passed away in Damascus at the age of 92.
The late poet dedicated large part of his poetry to children, which he regarded as the last refuge for the aspirations of the Arab nation. Sulaiman Laysa left behind 2 sons and a daughter, as he will be escorted from al-Assad hospital to his final resting place in Sheikh Rislan cemetery in Damascus. Sulaiman Laysa was born in 1921 in the village of Nuwayriya near the city of Antioch in Luwas, Kandaroon. He received his first education in his village and continued his education in secondary schools at Hama and Damascus. Given an Iraqi scholarship, he attended a teacher training college in Baghdad, and after graduation he returned to Syria to take up a post as the first instructor of Arabic language at the Ministry of Education. He started writing poetry at the age of 10, and his first collection of poetry described the misery and weariness of the peasants in his village. His nationalist poems contributed to the demonstrations and the national struggle of his fellow citizens of Iskenderun. After the separation of his native district Liwa from Syria, he emigrated to other parts of Syria to continue with his friends the fight against the French mandate. Al-Issa was one of the founders of the Arab Writers' Union in Syria in 1969. He spoke French and English in addition to Arabic and Turkish. In cooperation with his wife, he contributed in translations of many literary books from English and French into Arabic, mostly Algerian books originally written in French. In October 1982, he received the Afro-Asian Writers' Union Lotus Prize for Poetry. In 1984, his poetical works for children received the prize of the Arab League's Educational, Cultural and Scientific Organization. In 1990, he was elected as a member of the Arab Language Academy in Damascus, and in 2005 he was granted the Syrian Order of Merit Excellent Degree. Among the most famous books by the poet are the poetical works, The Path of a Lifetime, The Woman in My Poetry, in addition to collections of stories and tales for children.
Our condolences to the Issa family, and with this we end our news for today. Thank you for watching us. For more details about Syria and the region, you can visit our bulletin at syriaonline.sy. God bless you and long live Syria. Over to our economic news with Fani after the break. Our kith and kin in the occupied Syrian Golan renew their solidarity with their homeland and support for the Syrian Arab army against the terrorist gangs. I'm Danya Nizam. Our kith and kin in the occupied Syrian Golan renewed their solidarity with their mother homeland Syria against the plots which targeted. They asserted their stand by their Syrian Arab army in its confrontation of the armed gangs of terrorism. They made their stand... Good afternoon, welcome to our news bulletin. A unit of the Syrian Arab army continues to uproot terrorism and to repulse the terrorists in Deir ez-Zor. Women and children tell the story of the savage terrorists who attacked them in their homes in the Latakia countryside.